Well, welcome back. This is our just second little opportunity to speak to Aonghus, and I think there was a feeling maybe at the end of our previous recording there that we hadn't covered everything. So, so welcome to part two. And
nice to meet you, Stephen. And yeah, I just felt that I couldn't believe that we were nearly 30 minutes chatting. I felt as though we'd only just scratched the surface, which I think is always a wonderful compliment to whatever way the conversation was going, that we didn't even notice the tempest or the fugiting or whatever, you know. So
yeah, fantastic. Just in your life and all that you've been a part of, Aonghus, I think there was something maybe about alcohol in there as well. Do you want to just comment on?
Yeah, funny, just we've met each other socially on several occasions, and you've always seen me with a glass of orange or a cup of tea in my hand. I actually drank from about the age of 15 to 19, and I woke up one day at 19, back in March of 1975, and I made a decision that I would never, ever take another drop of alcohol, and touch wood, to this day, that has remained true. I didn't need it to have confidence to speak or go on stage or to meet people or to mingle or whatever. And in fact, any of my interaction with alcohol had ended up being in a negative way, in that I remember being in bands and getting absolutely out of my head and falling over drunk and bruises on my elbows and my knees and whatever, and having a woeful hangover. I remember having to play a full rock concert in an echoey ballroom in Navan way back in 1974 in the horrors, and it was an experience I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to go through again. So it's been an interesting journey, because it's actually quite difficult on occasions in show business, because your entire life is surrounded by it. And to me, it's probably akin to somebody who doesn't like traffic, but having to be a bus driver all their lives in rush hour traffic, or whatever. Yeah. You can't avoid it. But so I obviously got coping mechanisms to deal with it, and I stress that I have the issue with alcohol nobody else has. It's alcohol is a wonderful thing in moderation, and my wife drinks, my children drink. I love pouring a drink for them or whatever. And socially, it's a wonderful thing for somebody who doesn't feel they have, or whether they know they have a problem or not. I suppose I have seen it destroy so many people, and I felt that if I didn't stop it, it would possibly destroy me. So I think it was a very good decision, albeit some people say I was way too young to make a decision to stop. And there are times when I've questioned myself over the years of, am I, but there's enough in my mental and makeup as to how I react to things, my extremism, my meticulous method of dealing with things. I don't do things by half, nor did I with alcohol. And I think that's a good enough reason to maybe stay away from it. The analogy that I give, because I would help a lot of people on the phone, people know that I'm available to talk to or whatever, and they you know, sort of, I had grown up in an AA household, so I was aware of the convention. I don't regard myself as being an AA per se, but I do use the Serenity Prayer as a method of dealing with every aspect of your life. Is there to, you know, have the courage to change things, to, you know, the serenity to accept things that you cannot change, but also the big one then, to know the difference. And I think every single, I wouldn't be overtly religious, I wouldn't be overtly spiritual, but I do think that the Serenity Prayer gives you, my two philosophies in life. One is, if you can go to bed at nighttime with your head on the pillow, with an easy conscience that you haven't harmed anybody in that day, I think that'll kind of do me. I was born a Catholic, but I would not be a practicing Catholic. I have had major issues with an awful lot of the bad stuff of Catholicism. I do not tar everybody with the one brush. I know some really fantastic priests and people who work in religion, but it doesn't connect to me or my life remotely. And I think that's one of the major problems. I think the nature of how the church has been run from the top down has impacted negatively on people's wish to interact. I think the misogyny appears to be there. I have a real issue with the Pope is the person who speaks on behalf of the church, and he's a modern person, but they're going back to, so the rules can change. I mean, when I was growing up, limbo was there, purgatory was there. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe in heaven either. I don't believe that you can be damned to fire and brimstone for the rest of whatever immortality there is. So I think they're concepts, but I don't think, anyway, I'm digressing ever so slightly. But but my kind of religion or my spirituality would be to try and be kind to people, to try and be fair, to try and be helpful, and to be able to sleep when I go to bed at night. So that kind of does me. But within that, then I think the serenity prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I found myself on so many occasions in the last 30, 40 years where I had to make a judgment call. And two examples of which I would give you, one of which is relevant to us wearing the snooker and billiards jackets. One was 30 years ago, I had a live television interview to do at 4 o'clock. I remember it still because I shudder with anxiety when I think of it. And I was on my way into Irish television, to RTE, and I got stuck in a horrendous traffic jam in the center of town. Everything ground to halt. I think there were 2 serious crashes and nothing was moving. So I pulled my car into the side of the road on the quays in Dublin, illegally, and got out and ran for about 1.5 miles until I got outside the traffic to grab a taxi. And I got to the event, and I made it, the interview with about 5 minutes to spare. Okay, that's scenario 1. I was able to do something about it. Scenario 2 was literally actually the week before lockdown happened, funnily enough. I was at a tournament in Southampton. I flew into Gatwick, picked up a car, and I left myself 2.5 hours for the 1-hour drive to Southampton from Gatwick. And very sadly, a lady had decided that she couldn't take any more of life and had jumped off an overpass onto the motorway, and it completely ground to a halt. Horrific. And I felt so sorry for that poor woman, whoever she is, and may she rest in peace. But it just ground to a halt. Nothing happened. I couldn't go forward. I couldn't go backwards. And the journey that was to take an hour took me, I think, 6 hours. So I had to ring the event and say, I can't make my first match in the tournament. Then 2 hours later, I said, I've moved 2 miles. I can't make my second match. And my wife said, you're remarkably calm, because normally you'd be like a hen on a hot griddle. And I said, Billy, my wife, Billy, I said, there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm completely, and they're the two differences. So in one, I jumped out of the car, was able to do something about it, and in the second, I wasn't. So that's my sort of spirituality, in the sense of what keeps me going. What I do find difficult, and it does irritate. So lots of people ring me on the phone, and I'm delighted to talk to them. And the analogies that I give with regard to an issue with alcohol is as follows: if somebody has a peanut allergy, and it can be very serious, and they go into anaphylactic shock. Okay, so if that is the situation, you can't have peanuts. It doesn't matter where the peanuts were made, what flavor they are, what size the packaging is, what color the packaging is, whether you buy a pack of 7 or 10 or whatever, or where you go to buy. And the reason I say that is so many people with alcohol issues say, if I wasn't married to him or her, I'd be okay. If I wasn't working there, if I only drank, I'm fine with the pint, it's only the whiskey that gets me, right? And as far as I'm concerned, they are all excuses. If you have a peanut allergy, you can't have peanuts, end of. That's the first. The second thing is that there's a very good friend of mine who would speak to me on occasions, and he would be what I'd call a gentle serial recidivist with regard to alcohol, and that he'd be very good for a while, and then he'd be not good, and then he'd be so he'd eventually ring me in the horror, said, oh, I need help, whatever. Okay. And I used to say to him, okay, here's the thing. What do you think made you have the few drinks? That he said, oh, I was feeling so bad. Okay, right. And tell me now, how are you feeling now? I said, oh, I'm much worse. I said, okay. So if the answer to the question is worse than the question, why ask yourself the question? And by that, what I meant was, and I said to him, please ring me before you have the drink rather than after. I can't stop you having the drink. But what I can do is I can talk you through and articulate what we're saying now. If you've been feeling miserable and the word is out to get you and nobody understands you, I accept that fully. And then you have all this alcohol, which is not a great idea for you because it doesn't work well for you. And the end result is that you're even feeling worse than you were. So anyway, they're kind of two things that I try to people. And I do think, so it works for me. the other issues that I have now that I'm on my slight hobby horse, sorry for boring on this, but
no, because you're answering a lot of the things I was intrigued about, how you operated life and everything. So keep going.
Socially, the things that annoy me as a non-drinker is that the perception that you're the odd man out. Okay, the convention would be that most people would take alcohol. So I get annoyed when I say to people, can I get you a drink? And they say, no, actually, you're not drinking, it's fine. I say, no, I am. I'm thinking what I want to drink, so let me get you a drink and you can get me a drink or whatever. Or when they're buying me a drink, they say, no, I say, a rock shandy, please. No, come on, let me get you a real drink. I said, that is a real drink. It's my drink of choice. So it's quite insulting to the non-drinker to be told it's not a real drink, it's not.
No.
And then the other thing is, in my immaturity, I remember in my very early days of non-drinking, there was an Irish drink called a Madison. It was a tiny little thing that looked a bit like a whiskey. It was a very sweet juice of some sort, but it looked, if you had it in a small glass, it looked like a whiskey. And I remember at one stage drinking that in order to look like I had an alcoholic drink in my hand. Okay. And then I got really annoyed at myself for bowing to that convention that I somehow a lesser person because I didn't drink. And then I also get annoyed with people when I say, listen, come here. I mean, I've been very popular with family and friends for 40 years because I never drink. So I'm always a lift home. I've never had to take a taxi from anywhere. It suits me to drive, you know. But I do get annoyed at the inference from some people that you can't really have a good night if you're not having any alcohol. Because I've often said, look, come on, we'll meet you so and we'll you know. Say, oh no, but I'm taking the car, so I won't be able to drink. And I said, yeah. Well, it's not really a night out then, is it? I mean, it is actually, it's my, anyway. But, and to go full tag again, recently, I have joined a fantastic golf society called the Arid Golf Society, ARID, Arid Golf Society. And as the name might suggest, it's for non-drinkers of alcohol. And it's for people who either are in AA, not in AA, who don't drink, who don't want to, or whatever. It's, you know, it's not the pioneers. They're two very different things, in my opinion. The pioneers are people who make amends for the sins of others. I'm not in that camp at all. I'm a non-drinker for staying alive. And that's no denigration to pioneers. It's not for me. That's not who or what I am. But what I love about playing golf, like to be 40 or 50 of us in the golf outing, we come in off the golf course into the bar, and the bar staff are rolling up their sleeves, and they've got tea, please, coffee, pint of water, lemon and lime, we've got a rock shandy, pineapple juice, and they're going, what? And we sit there and we're chatting, and it's like being at an AA meeting or something, in that you're chatting and it's a common experience. So I love that, and I love not feeling the odd one out in socially. Now, I know more, maybe there are more people, I certainly know there are more people not smoking, but in terms of alcohol, there are a lot more people now, I think, who are hopefully beginning to understand and accept it. But it can be annoying when you feel like you're the party pooper, you're not really enjoying it, it can't be any good, how could you have enjoyed that or whatever, you know? But it's been very difficult, if you think about all of my working life, all of my musical career, playing in bars, clubs, in hotels, in dance halls, whatever, is all surrounded by alcohol. And some people have a wonderful way to drink and enjoy it. Other people get very messy. And one of the skill sets that I've found in my life is I suddenly just disappear. If I feel my sanity is being affected, I just leave. Bye now, and I'm gone, you know. But that's just my take on it. You know? I think anything in moderation is good, and one of the reasons why I think I probably do actually have a problem is that I don't do moderation, as you well know. I think that's enough of a warning sign to me, you know. Moderation doesn't work, you know.
Yeah, brilliant. No, I really appreciate you sharing that, Aonghus, because touching on that has helped maybe have an insight into your approach to life and how you deal with, well, how you've dealt with the circumstances you've been in. But I appreciate, and the serenity of prayer is powerful and hits the mark. I suppose picking up on something you just said, that you have maybe an openness to that people maybe come to you and have shared whatever maybe their problems or whatever with you. Is that particularly, well, it's your personality, it's you, it's what you radiate, but being in maybe a more public position, and it can that be overwhelming, or can that?
Yes and no. It works for me. You often hear people saying, when you think that I'm helping you, you're actually helping me.
Yeah.
It confirms to me if I think everybody loves a bit of validation that they're not crazy or off the mark. So one of the things I've always done throughout my entire career, actually, in terms of I'm a great believer in objective criticism, as in feedback. In other words, the positive feedback about the good stuff you're doing and the bad stuff you're doing. I've done it all through my career. In fact, many of my colleagues have said to me, you're one of the few people who's ever come up and praised us about anything, because I think maybe it's a lack of confidence people have, or they feel that if they acknowledge that somebody else has done something brilliantly, it means that they're saying of themselves, I'm not that good or whatever. Whereas I'm very open. I'm a people person, I think. But if I see something that I really like, I'll go and share the joy with that person. Say, you've no idea, it was a privilege and an honor to watch you doing what you do, or whatever, And in the same way, I'd say, may I suggest maybe this, and this might help you, or whatever. So I've always done that, and I think it's important to do that. Now, maybe part of this kind of chat now is what, in some ways, has replaced some parts of the confessional that people used to go to and tell somebody. I think there was a sense of going to a darkened room and you can unburden what's in your head. Maybe that's what therapy is now. Maybe people have now migrated from confession or whatever to some form of therapy where they just need to offload or whatever. But I often think that just the sharing of the biggest thing that I do feel is when you realize you're not alone, you're not the only person who's ever had this feeling, this thought, this mistrust, this misgiving, this anxiety. It's wonderfully affirming when somebody says, did you ever feel this? And you go, absolutely, that's me too. And you realize that you're not a freak. It is powerful. And I think that is what shared religion as well is, when you come together and sing in a choir, or you share the gospel or whatever, or a reading, and people can identify with that and people get something from it. I think that is I think as human beings we're meant to be both individuals but also collectives, in that I think congregation, and by that I mean family and extended family, or neighbors, or suburbs, or your identity as a county person, or a provincial person, or even in the country. I mean, you and I know the pride that we have when you walk out with the Irish flag on a waistcoat representing the country. It's extraordinary, and I think that sense of identity is really important. So to share knowledge and to share pain and to help people, it rewards me on a human level, and I feel, to go back to what I was saying earlier about when I put my head on the pillow and feel that I can sleep with an easy conscience, it's nicer to feel that you've helped somebody during the day, an act of kindness, rather than that you haven't. One of the things that I was so grateful when I retired from my RTE work, which is a portion of my life. I mean, I was there for many, many, many years, and I did do many full years there. But it was also just part of what I did. I was doing my music, my snooker, my billiards, my whatever. But one of the things that I was humbled by was, when people do these signing of cards or whatever and send you emails, I read through them. I was proud, very, very proud of one theme that emerged. And it wasn't my successes. It wasn't the shows that I did, or the amount of people, and I'm not joking, it humbled me. People said, on my first day in RTE, you come over to me and said, hi, I'm Aonghus, you're welcome. If I can help you in any way, please come to me. I'm an open door. And established people now who would be junior to me in age, major names saying to me, you've no idea how nice it was that when I met you for the first time, you made me welcome, you showed me the ropes, you were always there, you were a counsel to me. And I was unaware of I just was doing it naturally, but actually when you get reaffirmed from a myriad of different sources. And funny, if I remember saying to my wife when I was coming up to leaving RTE, I said it would break my heart, and it would break my heart if when I was going out the door, people were speaking ill of me, that I had been obnoxious, crawling over dead bodies to further my career, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I would not have been as ambitious as some people I worked with, but I preferred to be content in my work. I had a very successful career, but I did a lot of these IMI management courses as I progressed through various different parts of RTE. And one of the constant feedbacks that I got from these super duper lecturers, some of whom I thought were rubbish, said to me, "Oh, you're too nice. You don't have the cut and thrust for business." And I've been watching recently, and if you haven't watched it, please watch it, a show called Succession. I don't know if you've heard about it. No. It's a 3-part series, and basically it's Brian Cox's wonderful actor plays a Rupert Murdoch style character who has a heart attack, runs a huge conglomerate of TV, radio, newspapers, is a media giant, and he has 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. And basically the series is the succession of him, but he is your quintessential hard businessman, and he is appalling to his 4 children, and they're all appalling to each other and to him. They all want to be the boss. And if you said, what is Succession about? It is simply about these 4 siblings and the dad and the power struggle, and very little else happens, but it is the most incredible insight into human nature, those kinds of people. You know? All wanting the affirmation of their dad, and yes, he's appalling to them, but they'll turn on their brother and the sister, whatever. But so I was never into that at all, and I just, you know, it warmed my heart that people said, you know, I came in. I remember one guy in particular sent me a note. He had been promoted to a very major job in RTE, and he came over from. He had been in a different building, didn't know anybody, and he said, I walked in the door wondering, what am I going to meet here? And he said, you walked over, introduced yourself, shook my hand and said, you don't know me and I don't know you, but this is what I do. And if I can be of any help, please come and talk to me. And he said, you've no idea. And like, so things like that, I think are, and I'm not saying that now to put a feather in my own cap. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying it as a observation that in how I've tried to live my life, I'm proud. I'm actually very proud of the fact that I think I've had serious rows with 2 people in my entire life, and I don't think that's too bad.
Okay, well, that's some going, but it is powerful to hear, because you know, in society, in what we see, it's so much is promoted dog eat dog. You to get to the top or to be successful, and I think we need to step back from a definition of success that is about selfish power.
When I was 15, my dad said to me once about life and about work and about ambition and all of that. And he said, do remember, son, he said, it is the journey and it's not the destination. And I was thinking about that. And I remember one of the first times, I remember thinking, if I got to play a concert in the National Stadium on the North Circle Road or South Circle Road, which at the time was the big venue, like when I was starting off, and I got to play it, right? And I just thought, okay, if this was the goal, I've no issue with setting goals and trying to achieve them. But if I'd set a value on me, my life, and my career based on reaching that goal, and that was it, then what would happen after that? So it really is about the journey. And I must say, as I get older now and into the beginning of the autumn of my years, I'm really cherishing time and space and people. And I mean, obviously, it is quite right that in our younger years, there is an awful lot of pressure and you're working so hard and you're paying bills. And it's a struggle to keep family going and all of that. But I do think that it is right that when you get towards the end of that, when you've dispensed an awful lot of your responsibility, I think as a parent, your responsibilities never really end, you know. But I am enjoying the serenity of older age now and feeling very comfortable in my own skin, and very happy with my lifestyle, very happy having time to do things with the people that I want to do them with, and play a bit of golf and billiards, snooker. And I think it's right that, I mean, I think there is a natural cycle that while I had to stop working in RT at 65 because it's a semi-state body, and because I had in my latter years joined the staff of RT and to do a particular job that I'd been requested to do. Other than that, I would have been a freelance person, could have stayed on forever. But I do think there is a natural cycle to life, that there are your young years, your teenage years, your heavily working years, your parenting years, and then your beginning to wind down years. And then I do think that we're all entitled to have a little bit of an easier time in later years. Now, I know it's going to be very tough now. I just saw recently that we have the highest rate of inflation in nearly 40 years over the last year. Much thanks to that awful man, Mr. Putin, and I despair of what's going on there. I mean, I remember thinking in February when that invasion took place, oh my God, is this the end of the world as we know it? And I really was concerned that a nuclear button would be pushed. But I think it's incredible that 5 months later or whatever, it's still going on. The only positive I can see in it, it shows Mr. Putin that he's not as powerful a man as he thought he was, because if people were to analyze what he's doing now, and they would see that if he's meant to be the most powerful man in the world, and he cannot defeat the West at the moment. But anyway, it's awful, the misery that it has caused. I digress a bit there.
Yeah. Well, here we've covered a lot of wonderful, or you've covered a lot of wonderful ground there, Angus. I think we've covered maybe most things, that, unless there's anything else that.
No, I'm sorry, I went off on a bit of a rant there. So, basically, to summarize my life, I'm very happy in my life at the moment. I'm happy with my family, and I'm loving life. I'm loving the ease of semi-retirement from the full whack of what I used to do, but having a great amount of time now to pursue all of my performing again, and my magic and my music and my singing and whatever. And it's good to be alive. And I just wish joy and happiness and peace to everybody who's watching this with you.
Yeah, super. Well, thank you very much, Angus. Really appreciate that. And just really, I think, appreciate your reflections on how you just hearing those things that have motivated and kept you going through everything. So.
It's a pleasure talking.
I don't think we're going to be back for a third video, but we'll see. Who knows?
Well, you know where the phone is. Good to talk to you, Stephen.
Right. Thank you.